All right, welcome to this explainer. Today, we're diving into a fascinating concept. We're going to reveal how making hundreds of millions of dollars could be as simple as, well, committing to a really boring business. We'll be walking step by step through David Peacock's exact blueprint, looking closely at the data, some incredible case studies, and the frameworks that prove you absolutely do not need to build some revolutionary tech startup to create massive wealth.
So the guy behind this pretty bold claim is David Peacock, and he's got the track record to back it up. As the CEO of Filterbuy, which is an air filter company generating a staggering $22 million a month, he sees a ton of opportunities to invest in these everyday, totally unassuming companies. He argues that the secret to extreme wealth isn't flashy technology. It's not about going viral. It's simply about finding boring necessities that people rely on every single day and then committing to them 100%.
Here's our roadmap for today. First, we'll look at the power of boring. Second, property cash flow businesses. Third, scaling with service businesses. And finally, we'll wrap up with the ultimate cash flow checklist.
Let's kick things off right away with Section 1, the power of boring. Now, you really have to understand this foundational divide in the business landscape. It's like a fork in the road. On one side, we have property-oriented businesses. These rely heavily on tangible, physical assets, and they are absolutely fantastic for making thousands of dollars a month in cash flow. But on the other side, we have service-based businesses. These are capital light, they're driven almost entirely by the systems and the labor you put in place. And as you're going to see, this is the side of the board where you transition from making thousands to making millions, and sometimes even billions.
Moving right along, let's jump into Section 2. Property cash flow businesses.
Picture this, $2,100. That specific amount is quite literally all Paul Alex, who was a retired San Francisco police officer at the time, needed to buy his very first ATM back in 2018. He took that machine, worked out a deal to install it in a local nail salon where he knew the owners, and just like that, a single asset started netting him $500 in profit every single month, and it only required a few hours of his time to operate. This is a textbook example of how a small, boring start can totally snowball. See, Paul didn't just quit his day job right away. He started slowly. He went from one machine to two, then two to four. Fast forward to 2021, he had over 30 ATMs nationwide, bringing in $10,000 a month, which finally let him retire from the police force. Today, his company, ATM Together, pulls in over $8 million a year. But listen, while that growth looks like a perfectly straight line to the top, true success here wasn't passive. It required active, boots-on-the-ground negotiation for the best locations and really strict machine maintenance. Because if your ATM is broken or out of cash, you make absolutely zero money.
Next up in this property category are laundromats. And get this, they boast a staggering 95% success rate. I mean, when you compare that to the 50% national failure rate for most new businesses, it is mind-blowing. It almost sounds like a sure thing.
But let's do a little reality check here. Actually, scratch that. It's a big reality check. While a laundromat looks like a totally set-and-forget investment where you just pay for the building and water, scaling a laundromat empire takes massive capital, way more cash up front than most people realize. Plus, it's not truly passive. You are still actively responsible for daily upkeep, fixing busted washing machines, collecting quarters, and making sure the place is safe and clean. So it's a great cash flow business for sure, but don't let anyone trick you into thinking it's entirely passive.
Now, our third property model is equipment rentals. David Peacock actually mentioned he would gladly pay someone $10,000 a month just to start this up for him. Why? Well, during COVID, his manufacturing plant in Salt Lake City had a massive diesel air compressor break down. He was facing a 3-week delay that would have literally halted all his operations, so he happily paid a local rental company $500 a day for a replacement. There is a huge demand for this kind of problem solving. Plus, the tax advantages are insane. If you buy a $100,000 piece of equipment and rent it out for $60,000 in a year, you can usually write off 100% of those equipment costs against your income. It basically makes that $60,000 virtually tax-free.
All right, shifting gears now to Section 3, scaling with service businesses. As we touched on earlier, this is where we transition from making thousands to making millions. A service-based business is capital light. Instead of buying a fleet of expensive assets, you leverage deep industry knowledge and scalable human systems. Because they cost way less to get off the ground, the upside is practically unlimited. Honestly, if you skip traditional college, head straight to trade school and master a service, this might just be the smartest, most reliable path to becoming a millionaire today.
Let's actually look at the exact HVAC scaling playbook David used when he partnered with a former Goldman Sachs colleague. It's a 5-step masterclass. First, go to trade school to get the fundamental knowledge. Second, work for a successful HVAC business to see exactly how the sausage is made. Third, start your own thing but keep it hyperlocal in one small community until you become the absolute best there. Fourth, build rock-solid operating systems around that specific area. And finally, leverage social media. Seriously, most local businesses are burning millions on dusty old billboards and radio ads. If you meet younger homeowners where their attention actually is, on their phones, you are going to absolutely dominate your local market.
To show you the sheer range of service businesses, look at these two examples. On the left, we've got heavy towing. Down in Talladega, Alabama, an unassuming local guy became incredibly rich because he figured out the real money wasn't in towing Honda Civics, it was towing 18-wheelers stranded on the interstate. He had the only heavy-duty equipment capable of doing it, which meant it was a super high-margin business where he could essentially name his price. On the right side, we scale all the way up to waste management, which is literally an $80 billion industry. A former pro hockey player named Patrick Dovigi started a company called Green for Life just by managing small waste routes in Ontario. He found a unique local angle, won a massive Toronto contract, and then aggressively bought up his competitors. Today, that company is a publicly traded, multi-billion-dollar empire with over 20,000 employees. And the crazy part is, it all started simply by finding a missing gap in a local, boring market.
Which brings us to our final part, Section 4, the cash flow checklist.
Look, if you're serious about taking action and changing your financial trajectory, you absolutely must run your ideas through this 3-step checklist. It's simple, but it works. Step 1, start lean. Step 2, validate quickly. And step 3, stay hyper-local. Let's break these down.
Step 1 is starting lean. You see, business success isn't just about how much you make on day one, it's about keeping your overhead tiny. This is perfectly demonstrated by a window cleaner named John. He started with literally nothing but a squeegee, a bucket, and some soap to clean windows for a local bank. Because his costs were virtually non-existent, he could grow hyper-efficiently. Fast forward, and that simple bucket and squeegee operation has evolved into a massive business, generating $10 million in annual revenue with 40% net margins. To put that into perspective, John is clearing $4 million of personal profit every single year, from washing windows.
Step 2 is you've got to validate quickly. You do not need to wait months and spend thousands to get your first sale. David himself secured customers way before he ever spent a single dime building his massive air filter factory. How did he do it? He just drop-shipped air filters initially. He made almost zero profit doing it, but that wasn't the point. It allowed him to prove the business model was viable and secure a loyal customer base, which kept his upfront risk at effectively zero. And you can do the exact same thing today. Just spin up a simple landing page, run a few Google ads, and see if people actually click to buy your service before you invest heavily into launching it.
And finally, step 3, stay hyperlocal. Expanding too quickly is pretty much a guaranteed way to spread your resources too thin and crash your business. Take Domino's Pizza as an analogy. Back in the 1960s, they didn't try to conquer the entire country on day one. They focused on one single college town in Michigan. They tailored their menu, their late-night delivery hours, and their entire operational process strictly to what those local college kids needed. They nailed their delivery model in that one neighborhood before they ever thought about expanding into a global franchise. You have to perfect your systems in your own backyard first.
So I'm going to leave you with this final thought. Building a multi-million-dollar empire is entirely within your reach, as long as you focus on airtight systems and serving a specific local audience before trying to take over the world. Take a look around your own community today. Look past all the flashy tech trends and crypto fads. What boring, everyday necessity is just sitting there, waiting for someone like you to step in, optimize it, and completely change your life?